"Please, sir, $5. Just $5 for the drawing." Grant Morrison stopped on the rain-slicked sidewalk outside the Seattle Art Museum, not because a child was begging. He'd walked past hundreds of desperate voices in his 12 years building Morrison Tech into a $70 billion empire. Because the boy wasn't begging for food or money, he was selling art. Grant turned. His chest tightened in a way it hadn't since the accident. The boy stood beside a cardboard box filled with rolled papers, each bound with rubber bands salvaged from newspapers. He couldn't have been more than 9 years old. His jacket was 3 sizes too large, the sleeves rolled up so many times they bulked around his thin wrists. His jeans were worn through at the knees. His shoes were held together with duct tape. But his hands were steady as he held out a drawing, and his eyes were bright, too hopeful for a child who clearly slept on the streets. "I draw what people need to see," the boy said quietly. "Not what they want, what they need." Grant's throat tightened. Those words, that phrasing, his hands shook as he reached for his wallet. The boy had dark skin and close-cropped hair that needed cutting. A faded backpack sat at his feet, stuffed with what Grant assumed was everything he owned. There was dirt under his fingernails, but the drawing he held was pristine, protected. The boy's eyes were determined, too determined for someone so young. Like he'd already learned that the world wouldn't give him anything he didn't fight for. "What's your name?" Grant asked. "Sky." "Sky what?" "Just Sky." The boy tilted his head. "You look sad, like you're looking for something you lost." Grant's blood went cold. His heart hammered against his ribs. He hadn't smiled in 2 years. Hadn't felt anything in 2 years. But this child saw straight through the expensive suit and the reputation and the carefully constructed walls. Before we dive into this story, tell us where in the world you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments. We love knowing our community spans the globe. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell because you won't believe what happens next. Let's take a moment to pray. Dear Lord, we ask for breakthrough in the lives of everyone listening, healing for wounded hearts, favor for those who feel forgotten, and the courage to love again when love has brought us pain. We ask for divine protection over the innocent and justice for those who have been wronged. Amen. 2 years ago, Grant Morrison lost everything that mattered. It was supposed to be a simple Saturday. Grant had cleared his entire schedule, something he rarely did. His son Ethan had begged him for weeks to go to the aquarium, just the two of them, father and son. Ethan was 7 years old and obsessed with octopuses. He drew them constantly, covering every surface with crayon and marker renderings of 8-armed creatures. He always signed his drawings the same way, with a phrase Grant's late mother used to say, "Made with wonder." But that Saturday morning, Grant got a call, a critical server failure in the Tokyo office, millions of dollars at stake. He'd promised Ethan they'd go in the afternoon instead. He'd promised. Ethan had gone with Grant's wife, Claire, instead. They'd driven across town in the rain. A semi-truck driver fell asleep at the wheel on I-5. The impact killed Claire instantly. Ethan died in the ambulance, holding a stuffed octopus Grant had bought him for his birthday. Grant threw himself into work after the funeral. 18-hour days, 7 days a week. He sold the house where Ethan had grown up. He moved into a sterile penthouse overlooking Elliott Bay. He donated every toy, every drawing, every reminder. His board of directors worried about his health. His few friends stopped calling after he ignored them for months. He built walls so high that nothing could get in. Nothing could hurt him if he felt nothing at all. He hadn't looked at a child's drawing in 2 years. The grief was too sharp, too raw, too capable of cutting him in half. But now this boy stood in front of him, holding out art with hands that shouldn't be so steady, and Grant couldn't walk away. "Show me what you've got," Grant said. Sky's face lit up. He knelt beside his box and carefully selected 3 rolled drawings. He laid them out on top of the cardboard box, smoothing the edges with reverent care. The first was a charcoal sketch of the Space Needle, but drawn from an angle Grant had never seen captured before. Low from the ground, like a child looking up at something impossibly tall. The second was a watercolor of Pike Place Market, vibrant and alive, every face in the crowd rendered with startling detail. The third was colored pencil, and it made Grant's stomach drop. It was an octopus, not a cartoon, not a childish scribble, a realistic rendering of an octopus mid-swim, its tentacles flowing like water, its eye intelligent and knowing. The detail was extraordinary, the shading was professional level, and in the bottom right corner, in careful letters, was a signature. Grant picked up the drawing with shaking hands. He turned it over. On the back, written in Sky's careful handwriting, were three words that stopped Grant's heart. Made with wonder. His vision blurred. His throat closed. His knees went weak and he sat down hard on the wet sidewalk, not caring that his $3,000 suit was getting soaked. The drawing trembled in his hands. "Sir," Sky's voice was worried. "Are you okay?" Grant couldn't speak. He stared at those three words, the exact phrase his son had used, the exact phrase his mother had taught Ethan before she died. What were the odds? What were the impossible, astronomical odds that this homeless boy would use the exact same words? Something inside him cracked, something that had been frozen solid for 2 years. "Why do you sign your drawings like this?" Grant's voice came out rough, broken. Sky knelt beside him. The boy didn't seem bothered by the rain or the cold or the fact that one of the richest men in Seattle was falling apart on the sidewalk. "My mom taught me. She said everything we make should have wonder in it. Otherwise, what's the point? Where is your mom?" "Working. She cleans offices at night, sleeps during the day when she can. I sell drawings so we can eat." "Where do you sleep?" Sky pointed down the street. "There's a shelter 6 blocks that way. Sometimes they have room, sometimes they don't." Grant's chest ached. This boy. This impossibly brave, impossibly talented boy was living on the streets, creating beauty in the middle of survival, and signing his work with the same words that had meant everything to Grant's son. "How much for all of them?" Grant asked. "I only have 3 ready to sell right now, but I can draw more if all of them. Everything in that box, everything you've made, how much?" Sky's eyes went wide. "Sir, I don't. There's maybe 20 drawings here. I can't." "Name your price." "I usually ask $5 each, so maybe $100 total, but really you don't have to." Grant pulled out his phone. He opened his banking app and looked at the boy. "What's your mother's name?" Riley Chen, but why do you? Does she have a phone?" Sky recited a number from memory. Grant typed it in. He transferred $50,000 with 3 taps of his finger. He showed Sky the screen. "That's for the art, all of it, and I want to meet your mother." Sky stared at the phone. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "That says $50,000. Yes, for my drawings. They're worth more, but it's a start." Tears spilled down Sky's face. "I don't understand." Grant gathered the drawings carefully, reverently. His hands were still shaking. "Your signature, those words, they meant something to someone I lost. And your art, Sky, it's extraordinary. You have a gift. My mom says that, but no one ever believed her except me. I believe her. And I want to help, both of you." Sky wiped his face with his sleeve. "Why, you don't know us." Grant looked at the octopus drawing, at those 3 perfect words. "Maybe I'm supposed to." That night, Grant met Riley Chen in the lobby of his office building. She'd come straight from her cleaning shift at a downtown office complex. Her eyes were exhausted, but sharp, protective, wary. She was young, maybe 30, with dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail and the kind of beauty that exhaustion couldn't quite hide. Sky stood close to her, holding her hand. "Mr. Morrison," she said carefully, "Sky told me what you did. I don't understand why. Can we talk in my office?" She hesitated. Grant saw her calculating, weighing trust against desperation. Finally, she nodded. They rode the elevator to the 42nd floor in silence. Grant's office overlooked the city, floor-to-ceiling windows revealing the lights of Seattle like scattered stars. Riley's breath caught when she saw the view, but she didn't comment. She sat in the chair Grant offered, keeping Sky close. "I want to explain," Grant said. He sat across from them, not behind his desk. "Equal ground. 2 years ago I lost my son. He was 7. He loved to draw. He signed every piece of art with the same phrase Sky uses." Riley's expression softened. "I'm so sorry. When I saw Sky's signature today, something inside me broke. Or maybe something healed. I'm not sure yet. But I know that Sky has extraordinary talent, and I know you're both struggling, and I know I have the resources to help." "We don't need charity," Riley said quietly. Her pride was obvious, defensive. "It's not charity. I bought Sky's art because it's worth buying. I want to commission more. I want to enroll him in art classes with the best teachers in the city. I want to make sure you have a safe place to live while he develops his gift." Grant leaned forward. "I'm not trying to save you. I'm trying to invest in something beautiful, something that reminded me I'm still capable of feeling." Riley's eyes filled with tears. Why us? Because Sky's art made me cry for the first time in 2 years. Because those 3 words on his signature were the last words my son wrote before he died. Because maybe, in some way I don't understand, I'm supposed to help him the way I couldn't help my own son. Grant's voice cracked. Please, let me do this. Sky looked up at his mother. Mom, he really likes my drawings. Riley laughed, a broken sound that was half sob. Baby, I think he more than likes them. So can we say yes? She wiped her eyes. She looked at Grant, searching his face for deception or ulterior motives. Whatever she saw there must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. Okay, but I pay my own way, I work, I don't take handouts. I wouldn't expect anything less, Grant said. I have a property management company. They're always looking for good people. I can make a call. I don't want special treatment. You'll earn every dollar, but you'll earn it during daylight hours so you can sleep at night and see your son during the day. Something in Riley's expression shifted, cracked. You promise this is real. You promise you're not going to disappear in a week when you realize we're too much trouble. Grant thought of Ethan's drawings, packed away in a storage unit he couldn't bear to open. He thought of Sky's octopus, so similar it hurt. He thought of wonder and second chances, and the way grief could either destroy you or transform you. I promise, he said. 3 weeks later, Riley and Sky moved into a 2-bedroom apartment Grant owned in Capitol Hill. It wasn't a handout. Riley signed a lease. She paid rent from her new salary as a daytime property manager for Morrison Holdings. Sky enrolled in a private school with an advanced arts program. Grant commissioned a new piece every week, paying Sky $500 per drawing. The boy's talent bloomed with proper materials and instruction. Grant visited every Saturday. At first, he told himself it was to check on his investment, to see Sky's progress, to make sure the arrangement was working. But the truth was harder to admit. Being around Sky and Riley made him feel human again, made him remember what it was like to care about something other than quarterly earnings and stock prices. Sky asked questions constantly. Why are you sad? Why do you work so much? Why don't you have a family? The questions were innocent, blunt, impossible to deflect. And somehow Grant found himself answering, telling this 9-year-old boy about Ethan, about Claire, about the guilt that ate him alive because he'd chosen work over the aquarium. It wasn't your fault, Sky said one Saturday afternoon. They sat in the apartment's small living room, Sky drawing while Grant watched. Bad things just happen sometimes. I should have been there. Maybe, but you're here now, that counts for something. Grant's throat tightened. You're very wise for 9 years old. My mom says I'm an old soul. Sky looked up from his drawing. I think that means I worry too much. You've had to grow up too fast. Maybe, but I got to meet you, so maybe it's okay. Something inside Grant shifted, something warm and terrifying and wonderful. Riley came home from work an hour later. She'd stopped looking exhausted. Her eyes were brighter. She smiled more. She'd started wearing her hair down sometimes, and Grant noticed. He noticed everything about her. The way she touched Sky's shoulder when she passed. The way she hummed while cooking dinner. The way she looked at Grant like he was someone worth knowing, not just a bank account with a heartbeat. Stay for dinner, she said. It wasn't a question anymore. It had become a routine. I don't want to intrude. Grant, you bought Sky art supplies that cost more than my first car. You gave us a safe home. Your family now stay. Family, the word hit him like a physical blow. His stomach twisted. His heart hammered. Okay, he whispered. They ate spaghetti at the small kitchen table. Sky talked about his art teacher. Riley talked about a difficult tenant she'd helped that day. Grant talked about a new technology Morrison Tech was developing. It was ordinary, domestic, perfect. After dinner, Sky showed Grant his latest piece. It was a portrait of Grant himself, but not as he appeared now. In the drawing, Grant was smiling. His eyes were alive. He looked happy. Is this how you see me? Grant asked. It's who you're becoming, Sky said. That night, driving back to his empty penthouse, Grant realized he was falling in love with both of them. The boy who'd survived homelessness with creativity and hope. The mother who'd fought to keep her son safe and whole despite impossible odds. They'd brought color back into his black and white world, and he had no idea what to do about it. The text came on a Tuesday morning while Grant was in a board meeting. Riley's name flashed on his screen. He excused himself and stepped into the hallway. Riley, what's wrong? Her voice was shaking. He found us. Derek found us. Grant's blood went cold. Derek Chen. Riley's ex-husband, Sky's biological father. The man who'd put Riley in the hospital twice before she'd finally escaped with their 3-year-old son. The man who'd been in prison for aggravated assault for the past 5 years. Where are you? The apartment. He was waiting outside Sky's school. The security guard called me. I pulled Sky out. We came home and locked the doors, but Grant, he's texting me. He says he has rights. He says he wants his son back. I'm on my way. Don't open the door for anyone. I'm calling my head of security right now. Grant made 4 calls in the elevator ride down to the parking garage. First to Torres, his security chief. Then to his lawyer, Amanda Price. Then to a private investigator he kept on retainer. Then to the Seattle Police Department, where he donated enough money to have the chief's personal number. By the time he reached Riley's apartment 20 minutes later, 2 of his security team were stationed outside the building and Torres was at the door. He was here, Torres said quietly. Left 5 minutes before we arrived. Neighbors say he was banging on the door, shouting. Grant's hands were shaking with rage. Find him. I want to know everywhere he goes, everyone he talks to, every breath he takes. Already on it, sir. Grant knocked gently on the apartment door. Riley, it's Grant. She opened it immediately. Her face was pale. Sky stood behind her, his eyes wide with fear. It was the first time Grant had seen the boy scared, and it made something snap inside him. You're safe, Grant said firmly. I promise you're safe. Riley fell into his arms. She was shaking. Grant held her, stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances. Sky wrapped his arms around both of them. He can't have you, Grant said. Either of you, I won't let him. He has parental rights, Riley whispered. He's out on parole. His lawyer already sent paperwork. He's filing for custody. Then we fight. I have the best lawyers in the state. We document everything, every threat, every violation of his parole. We bury him in legal action until he gives up or goes back to prison. Sky looked up at Grant. Will you really keep us safe? Over my dead body, will he touch you? Grant knelt down to Sky's level. Do you understand me? I will use every resource I have, every dollar, every connection, every ounce of power to keep you safe, both of you. Why? Sky's voice was small. We're not your family. Grant's chest ached. You are, you have been since the day you sold me that drawing. I just didn't have the courage to say it out loud until now. Riley sobbed. Grant stood and pulled her close again. She felt right in his arms, like she belonged there. Like maybe, despite everything, he was allowed to have this. Allowed to love again. I'm scared, she whispered against his chest. I know, but you're not alone anymore. That night, Grant moved them both into his penthouse. The apartment wasn't safe. Derek knew where it was, but Grant's building had security that rivaled Fort Knox, and Torres personally vetted every person who entered the lobby. Sky got the guest room. Riley took the second bedroom. Grant lay awake in his own room, listening to the sound of people breathing in his home for the first time in 2 years. He'd forgotten what it felt like to be needed, to be someone's protector instead of just their employer or their business rival. The fear was sharp, but underneath it was something fiercer, something that felt like purpose. For 3 days, everything was quiet. Derek didn't show up, didn't call. Grant's investigator tracked him to a motel in Tacoma, but he stayed put. Riley started to relax. Sky drew constantly, filling page after page with images of octopuses and Seattle skylines and portraits of his mother. On the 4th day, Grant's assistant, Jennifer, knocked on his office door. She'd worked for him for 8 years. She was efficient, loyal, discreet. He trusted her. There's someone here to see you, she said. Her voice was strange, tight. I don't have any appointments for another hour. He says it's urgent, says it's about Riley and Sky. Grant's stomach dropped. Send him in. Derek Chen walked into Grant's office like he owned it. He was tall, muscular, covered in prison tattoos. His smile was cold, his eyes were dead. Mr. Morrison, Derek said, thanks for seeing me. You have 60 seconds before I have security throw you out. Relax, I'm not here to cause trouble, I'm here to make a deal. I don't make deals with men who beat women and terrorize children. Derek's smile widened. See, that's where you're wrong, because I have rights. I'm Sky's biological father. I've served my time, I'm clean, and I want my son back. He doesn't want you, doesn't matter what he wants, he's 9, I have legal rights, unless, Derek sat down uninvited, unless you make it worth my while to disappear. Grant's rage was ice cold and controlled. You want money, $5 million, cash, and I walk away, sign away my parental rights, you never see me again. And if I refuse, then I drag Riley through a custody battle that destroys her. I file motions. I demand visitations. I make her relive every moment of our marriage in front of a judge. And maybe I win, maybe I don't. But either way, she suffers, the kid suffers, and you get to watch. Grant stood. He walked to his window, looking out over the city. His reflection stared back at him. For 2 years he'd been a ghost, empty, numb. But now he felt everything: rage, love, fierce, protective determination. "Get out of my office," Grant said quietly. "So you're refusing." "I'm refusing to be blackmailed by a pathetic excuse for a man who thinks he can threaten the people I love." Grant turned. "You're going to leave Seattle. You're going to withdraw your custody petition. And you're going to stay away from Riley and Sky for the rest of your miserable life." Derek laughed. "Or what? You'll throw money at me? Too late. I already rejected that deal." "No, I'll destroy you." Grant pulled out his phone. He made a call. "Amanda, it's Grant. I need you to file a restraining order against Derek Chen. Document every parole violation. I want him under investigation within the hour." He hung up, made another call. "Detective Morris, this is Grant Morrison. I'm reporting a violation of parole and extortion attempt by Derek Chen. He's in my office right now. I'm recording this conversation." He held up his phone, showing the recording app. "And I have him on tape attempting to extort $5 million from me." Derek's face went white. "You're bluffing." "Tours," Grant said calmly. Security opened the door immediately. "Please escort Mr. Chen to the lobby and hold him there until the police arrive to arrest him for parole violation and attempted extortion." "You can't do this," Derek snarled. "I just did. You threatened my family. That was your mistake." Tours and 2 other security guards surrounded Derek. He struggled, shouting threats, but they moved him efficiently toward the door. Grant's hands were shaking with adrenaline, but his voice stayed steady. "If you ever come near Riley or Sky again, I will use every resource I have to ensure you spend the next 20 years in prison. Do you understand me?" Derek spat a curse, but Tours dragged him out. Grant sat down hard in his chair. His heart was hammering. His chest felt tight, but underneath the fear was satisfaction. He'd protected them. He'd used his wealth and his power for something that mattered. Jennifer appeared in the doorway. Her face was pale. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Grant's blood went cold. "What?" "He contacted me 2 days ago. He said he'd pay me $10,000 if I told him about Riley and Sky, if I got him into your office." "I'm so sorry, Grant. My sister needs surgery and I don't have insurance that covers it, and I never thought he'd—" "You let him into my building. You gave him information about where they were staying." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry. I'll resign. I'll do whatever you want. Please, I never meant for anyone to get hurt." Grant's rage was a living thing, but underneath it was disappointment. Jennifer had been with him for 8 years. He'd trusted her, and she'd sold that trust for $10,000. "You're fired," he said quietly. "Clear out your desk. Security will escort you out. And Jennifer, if Derek contacts you again and you don't report it immediately to the police, I will prosecute you for conspiracy. Do you understand?" She nodded, sobbing, and left. Grant put his head in his hands. The betrayal hurt, but it was nothing compared to the fear of what could have happened if Derek had gotten to Sky or Riley. He called Riley. "It's handled. Derek's being arrested. He won't bother you again." "What happened?" "He tried to extort me. I recorded it. He's violated his parole. He's going back to prison." Riley's sob of relief made Grant's chest ache. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to. Just stay safe. I'm coming home." Home? He'd called the penthouse home, because that's what it had become, not because of the view or the luxury, because Riley and Sky were there. 2 hours later, Derek Chen was arrested outside Grant's building. The evidence was overwhelming: extortion, parole violation, harassment. The prosecutor assured Grant that Derek would be going away for 15 to 20 years minimum. Night, Grant sat with Riley on the penthouse couch while Sky slept in the guest room. The city lights glittered outside the windows. Riley leaned against Grant's shoulder, exhausted. "I can't believe it's really over," she whispered. "It's over. He can't hurt you anymore. Because of you." She looked up at him. "Grant, you saved us. You kept us safe. You changed our lives. You changed mine first." His throat was tight. "When I bought Sky's drawing and saw that signature, something in me came back to life. You and Sky reminded me what it feels like to care about something more than work, more than money. You reminded me what family feels like. Grant, I know it's too soon. I know you need time, but I need you to know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm not helping you because I feel obligated. I'm helping you because I love you, both of you." Riley's eyes filled with tears. You love us. With everything I have, everything I am, she kissed him. It was soft and tentative and tasted like salt from her tears. Grant's heart felt like it would burst. His hands cupped her face gently, like she was something precious and fragile. When they pulled apart, Riley was smiling. I love you too. I've been falling for you since the day you transferred $50,000 for Sky's drawings and looked at him like he mattered. He does matter, you both do, more than anything. They sat together in the quiet, holding each other, while the city breathed around them. Stop everything. Grant just told Riley he loves her after taking down her abusive ex and protecting her son from a custody battle. Comment, true love, if you're crying right now, and if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Because this story is about to get even more beautiful. Now let's find out what happens next. 6 weeks later, the custody hearing was a formality. Derek had been sentenced to 18 years for violating parole, extortion, and making terroristic threats. The judge terminated his parental rights permanently. Riley was granted sole custody. Grant's lawyers made sure every detail was ironclad. Sky drew a picture of a superhero that day. When Riley asked who it was, Sky said, Grant, because he saved us. Grant kept that drawing in his office, framed on his desk where he could see it every day. Life settled into a new rhythm. Riley and Sky stayed in the penthouse. At first, Riley insisted on paying rent, but Grant convinced her to save the money instead. Sky thrived in his new school. His art was featured in a youth exhibition at the Seattle Art Museum. 3 of his pieces sold for $1,000 each, and Sky donated the money to a homeless shelter. That could have been us, he told Grant. I want to help kids like me. Grant's chest ached with pride. You have a good heart, Sky. I learned from the best. Months passed. Grant found himself measuring time differently, not in quarters or fiscal years, but in Sky's art projects and Riley's smiles and Saturday morning breakfasts together. His board noticed the change. He worked fewer hours. He smiled in meetings. Morrison Tech's stock price actually went up because investors saw a CEO who was balanced and happy instead of burning out from grief. Grant's friends started calling again. He answered. He went to dinners. He laughed. He lived. And through it all, Riley was there. They took things slow, dated properly. Grant took her to the symphony. She took him to a hole-in-the-wall Thai restaurant that served the best food he'd ever tasted. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. They kissed in the rain. They held hands while watching Sky's school art show. One Saturday afternoon, 7 months after buying Sky's first drawing, Grant took them both to the Seattle Aquarium. He hadn't been back since the accident. The thought of it had been too painful, but Sky wanted to see the octopuses, and Grant realized it was time to reclaim this place, to make new memories instead of being haunted by old ones. They stood in front of the giant Pacific octopus exhibit. The creature moved through the water like liquid grace, its tentacles flowing, its intelligence obvious in every movement. Sky pressed his face to the glass, mesmerized. It's beautiful, Sky whispered. Grant's throat was tight. Yes, it is. Riley squeezed his hand. She knew what this meant, what it cost him to be here. You okay? I am for the first time in a long time, I really am. Sky turned to him. Can I draw this? I want to make you something special. I'd love that. They spent 2 hours at the aquarium. Sky sketched constantly, filling pages with octopuses and sea stars and jellyfish. Grant and Riley followed, holding hands, stealing kisses when Sky wasn't looking. It felt like healing. Like the final piece of Grant's broken heart clicking back into place. That night, Grant made dinner in the penthouse. Pasta, because it was the one thing he could cook without burning. Sky set the table. Riley poured wine for herself and Grant, juice for Sky. They sat together like they had 100 times before, but tonight felt different, special. After dinner, Sky disappeared into his room. He came back carrying a wrapped package. I made you something, Sky said shyly. Grant unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a large drawing, the most detailed and beautiful piece Sky had ever created. It showed the octopus from the aquarium, but in the background, sketched lightly, were 2 figures. A man and a boy holding hands, looking at the exhibit together. Grant's vision blurred. Sky, this is... I know you lost your son. I know that's why the aquarium was hard for you, but I wanted you to know that it's okay to make new memories. You'll always love him, but you can love other people too, like me and my mom. Grant couldn't speak. His throat was closed, tears streamed down his face. And look at the signature, Sky said. Grant turned the drawing over. On the back, in Sky's careful handwriting, were 4 words instead of 3, made with wonder and love. Grant pulled Sky into his arms and held him tight. His shoulders shook with sobs. Riley wrapped her arms around both of them, crying too. I love you, Grant whispered. I love you so much, Sky. You've given me more than you could possibly know. I love you too. You're the best dad I never had. Dad. The word broke something open inside Grant, something that had been locked away since the accident. Permission to love again, to be a father again, not to replace Ethan. Nothing could ever do that, but to honor his memory by loving another child who needed him. That night, after Sky went to bed, Grant led Riley out onto the penthouse balcony. The city spread out below them, a million lights in the darkness. September air was cool but not cold. Riley wore one of Grant's sweaters because she'd forgotten her jacket. She looked beautiful, she looked like home. Riley, Grant said, his heart was hammering, I need to tell you something. You're scaring me, don't be scared. He took her hands. When I met you in Sky, I was a dead man walking. I had money and power and success, but I had no life, no joy, no purpose beyond making more money. You changed that. You taught me that love doesn't run out. That opening your heart after loss doesn't diminish what you lost, it honors it. Grant, let me finish. He smiled, nervous and hopeful and terrified. You and Sky are my family, you're my home. When I wake up in the morning, my first thought is whether Sky needs help with his art project or if you remembered to eat breakfast before work. You're the reason I leave the office at 5 instead of midnight. You're the reason I smile, the reason I'm alive again. He lowered himself to one knee. Riley gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. I know we've only known each other for 7 months. I know this might seem fast, but I also know that I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I want to be Sky's father. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life with you, a family with you, a future with you. He pulled out a small box from his pocket. Inside was a simple platinum band with a single perfect diamond, not flashy, not designed to show off his wealth. Just beautiful. Riley Chen, will you marry me? Riley was crying, nodding, laughing through her tears. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Grant slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. He stood and kissed her, holding her close, feeling her heart beat against his chest. Everything was right. Everything was exactly as it should be. Can I say yes too? They broke apart. Sky stood in the doorway to the balcony, wearing his pajamas, grinning. Were you eavesdropping? Riley asked. Maybe. But I wanted to make sure he did it right. Sky ran to them. So does this mean Grant's my dad now? Grant knelt down to Sky's level. If you want me to be, I know I can't replace your biological father and I won't try, but I promise to love you, protect you, and support you for the rest of my life. I promise to be there for every art show, every birthday, every moment you need me. If you'll let me. Sky threw his arms around Grant's neck. You already are my dad. You have been since you bought my drawings and made Mom smile again. The three of them held each other on the balcony while the city lights twinkled and the future stretched out before them, bright and full of possibility. 4 months later, Grant and Riley were married in a small ceremony overlooking Puget Sound. Sky was the ring bearer. He drew the invitations himself. Torres was the best man. Riley's friends from the shelter where they'd once stayed were there. Grant's board members came. Even the art teacher from Sky's school attended. The ceremony was simple. The reception was joyful. And when Grant kissed his bride, Sky cheered louder than anyone. They honeymooned in Hawaii for 2 weeks, the three of them. Sky snorkeled and drew sea turtles. Riley relaxed for the first time in years. Grant learned how to build sandcastles and forgot to check his email. When they returned to Seattle, Grant had the penthouse renovated to add a proper art studio for Sky, with north-facing windows and professional lighting. Sky's pieces started selling in galleries. At 10 years old, he was the youngest artist ever featured in a solo exhibition at a major Seattle gallery. Grant started a foundation in Ethan's name, providing art supplies and instruction to homeless children throughout the city. Sky was the spokesperson. Riley ran the day-to-day operations. In the first year, they helped 300 kids discover their creative voices. 1 year after buying Sky's first drawing, Grant stood in that same spot on the sidewalk outside the Seattle Art Museum. The building was hosting Sky's second solo exhibition. Inside, the walls were covered with Sky's octopuses, his Seattle landscapes, his portraits of hope and survival and wonder. Riley stood beside Grant, wearing a blue dress and the simple platinum wedding band that matched her engagement ring. Sky stood between them, holding both their hands, wearing his first suit. "Nervous?" Grant asked Sky. "A little, but you'll be there, right? Every second. Then I'm okay." They walked inside together. The gallery was packed. Critics and collectors and journalists filled the space, but Grant only saw Sky's art, each piece signed with the phrase that had changed Grant's life, "Made with wonder and love," because that's what they'd built. A family made from loss and chance encounters and the simple act of a homeless boy selling drawings on a rainy street. A family built on wonder, on love, on the belief that second chances were real and healing was possible. Grant looked at his wife, his son, and the art that had brought them together. His chest felt full. His eyes were wet. But this time, the tears were joy. Some stories begin with tragedy. This one began with 3 words on the back of a drawing, spoken by a 9-year-old boy who didn't know he was saving a broken man's life. And it ended with a family, whole and healed and happy, proving that sometimes the art that matters most isn't the kind you hang on walls. It's the kind you build together, one day at a time, made with wonder and love. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest miracles. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones we thought we were saving. Until our next story, keep believing in second chances, in the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds, and in happy endings that feel earned and real. Because they really are.